Welcome, ladies and let me see. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dogs and cats, elephants, zebras, gypsies, and the she. Let's see. Well, with that, the light kind of shines off of my face, so I'm going to turn it off. How about that? You can still see me. I mean, okay. So I'm watching a documentary. Actually, I think it was a news or I should say news program, about the case in Ohio. I happen to have a connection, several connections to Ohio actually. One of my granddaddies died there, and one of my stepsons is there. But I won't say where or why or how or anything like that. But anyway, so I was watching this. Thank you, John. You're not even there. You go. Show everybody your tail. So anyway, about 15 minutes through, I believe, there's a lady. I don't know what her credentials are, and she was talking about the mental aspects of surviving sexual abuse. And these are children. Some people would say, oh, they're not children, they're in their teens or 20s. Well, that's being a child to me. At my age, now you can't see me, I'm sitting too far back. At my age, a lot of people are children. Okay, and that's not. I had, when I was still on Facebook, I had this person get all upset with me for calling people children or kids. I'm like, I really don't care what you've done in your life. If you're in your 20s, you're a child in my eyes, and that's not disrespectful. Anyway, yeah. I just noticed I'm avoiding the subject here. Anyway, the lady was saying that some people, especially these three children, one way that they survived the sexual abuse was to disassociate, is to see it happening to somebody else. And yeah, that's like, I dig that because, the first time I was abused, and I've said before, I forgive my mother for whatever she may have done, but that doesn't change the fact that she sent me there, and I was raped and physically abused and abused in other ways as well. Just because I've forgiven her for that doesn't mean that she was right in what she did. But anyway, I remember standing there and I see it happen. I was there. It was me and some other kids. We were lined up. I don't want to give too many details, but we were lined up, and these two older kids, teenagers, I believe, basically took turns with us, and I remember seeing it. Not me standing there, not me having it happen to me, but I remember looking at it like I was behind everybody, looking at it happening. Another thing I remember from that incident, I looked over to where the staff were, because the staff could see. If they would have looked, and maybe they did look, maybe they just didn't give a damn, they could see. There were several staff members over there where I was looking, and either they just weren't doing their job or they just didn't give a damn. And it wouldn't surprise me if they just didn't give a damn. Maybe they were doing the same thing to other people. Maybe those teenagers were being abused by the staff. I have no idea. But that was the first time. You know, I find it amazing that my personality after that changed, 180 degrees. It just, I went from being a happy, carefree child to being a very, very angry, mean, confused child. Look, children that young have no business knowing about sex. And I don't even like calling it sexual abuse, because there's force, there's manipulation, there's control. There may be sex, but it's only on the part of the perpetrator, not on the part of the victim. The victim doesn't want it. So, other times I was abused, did I disassociate? Yes. I don't want to go through the details of every incident. There were a few. In one case, I guess, it didn't happen. The person tried something. I was asleep, and the person tried something, and I started yelling and flailing, and so nothing happened, thankfully. But that person did abuse me at other times. So, and here's another issue with, especially today, with childhood sexual abuse, is come on, John boy, come on, big boy, come on, John, come on, big boy, come on, John, come on, up here, come on. You want to come up here? Come on. Okay, he doesn't want to get up here. Now I don't remember what I was about to say, but I've received, I requested and received my chart from someplace, and it lists PTSD, and I'm like, nobody ever told me that. I mean, it's obvious to me that, but I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse, I'm not going to diagnose myself, but it would have been nice if they would have told me something, and it would have been nice if they would have said something or done something to actually help me. No, they weren't interested in that. But I'm in my 50s now, and Ann Bernard, you need to listen to this. In my opinion, you are a very, very sick, depraved human being. It will affect you the rest of your freaking life. Does it get better? Yeah, it gets better. I'm not angry the way I used to be. I'm definitely not violent the way I used to be. In those places, it wasn't just one type of abuse. There was a lot of abuse. Thanks, Devereaux Foundation. But that wasn't the only place. And the first incident I mentioned was not at that place. It was at another place, much earlier. But yeah, there's it affects you, and it doesn't stop affecting you. 5 seconds after it occurred. It will continue to affect you, and people need to understand that. I think it's important. Now, of course, there are people out there like the person I just mentioned that, frankly, they don't care either way, in my opinion. But, I do care. I'm glad those 3 little girls got out. I'm glad they I think it was Amanda Berry was the one that first escaped, and I want to say to you, young lady, you were very, very brave. That was what you did was amazing, amazing. And another thing. I'm no longer on Facebook, but when I was, one of the or some of the groups that I was a part of were for missing people, missing children, missing adults, missing mentally ill, etc. And I used to say, never give up hope. John, I would say, I would tell people, do not give up hope. I don't care the situation. It's been 5 years, it's been 10 years, it's been 20 years maybe. Never give up hope, because that person or those people may come back. And I think those 3 young ladies in Ohio that, one, they survived the hell they went through, and 2, they eventually found a way out. John, what did I say? And John has to be in the middle of everything. All right, John. And don't tell people that, Daddy. You want to get on the wheel? And the only one who gets on the wheels is Misty. The other ones could care less. But it can affect you the rest of your life. And now I see what I was looking for earlier. I made lollipops earlier, and I needed a mold, and I knew we had some molds, but I looked right at it and didn't see it. I hate when I do that, but there it is right there. Oh well, too late now, because I already made the candy. But they weren't in any shapes. I just poured it on a cookie sheet. But the one thing I can say, I was never sexually abused at home. I was never physically abused at home. That's a plus. I have that. I can definitely say I have that. But in one way, I survived all that crap that I went through growing up. Was through books. I used to read. I would read and read. I remember with Les Mis. I've read the abridged version of Les Mis. I started reading not this particular copy because this is a more recent copy. I've probably had it a few years now, but I had this edition before the fire, and I started reading it. But what got me was it was talking about the priest, and it went on and on and on. I'm like, okay, Victor Hugo, do I really need to know all this about the priest? And the fact is, yes, I do. But anyway, Something Wicked This Way. This is a great book. I mean, it depends, when you're reading a book or when you're deciding on what to read. Sometimes Ray Bradbury is just what you want. You don't want anything too heavy. Like this is going to take some time. This is going to take some effort, but this is fun reading right here. Even if it's a little scary, maybe it's still fun. So, but I remember walking down the hallway because I don't have glasses. I have to have glasses to read now. I can't see anything. But walking down the hallway, with a book open, holding it open, reading it. I wasn't paying attention to where I was walking. I was just reading the book. I mean, I knew the dorm's hallways so well that I didn't need to look, So, but yeah. Remember, and I don't have this book anymore because again I lost everything in the fire. But I remember I read. It was General Patton's, basically his autobiography, even though it wasn't really an autobiography, but that's how it's billed. I remember reading that, and that's how one way I survived all those years. Another way was going out into the woods and just hanging out in the woods all day by myself. Them animals weren't going to do me no harm. The people might do me harm, but the animals, they weren't going to do me no harm. So, anyway, so yeah, for those of you who are survivors, I hope one day you get beyond survival. I'm not a survivor anymore. Now I'm me. I have my life. It doesn't change the fact that, those things happened. It doesn't change the fact that those things still affect me. But I'm not angry, hateful, vengeful anymore. Another thing I was going to say earlier when I was talking about one of the people who abused me, I looked that guy's name up once. Years ago, I looked that guy's name up, maybe 10, 15 years ago, and found him. His name was on an AIDS quilt, a New York City AIDS quilt. And thankfully, when he did that to me, it was before AIDS. So, but, and I actually feel bad for the guy that he died from AIDS, but I don't feel bad for him for what he did to me. He should have been punished. All those people should have been punished. Frankly, the staff should have been punished. Because if you don't punish them, then they're just going to allow it to happen again and again. It's like Nick's Specialty Hospital on Vance Jackson in San Antonio de Tejas, San Antonio, Texas. You can close the Knicks down. What good does that do? The people that committed the acts are still around. They're just going to go to someplace else and keep doing it. You have to get those people and put them in prison. Okay? And then bar them from ever working in such facilities. Sadly, that is what you have to do with these people. Because you cannot counsel them because they don't get it. They don't understand, which is very sad. But they don't think what they're doing is wrong. Or if it's wrong, they don't care. So, and, I'm going to sit here, I will sit here and I will tell you, the first abuse happened to me, I'm not going to say the years, but geez. 45 years ago, and it still affects me. And again, I want to say to those other people that have survived this that just because you're going to have the memories, and just because you're going, and just because it will or may affect you for the remainder of your life, things will get better. Um, Things will get better, but you also have to be willing to deal with it, to work on it. And I know it can be hard because it took me years. Oh goodness, from the first incident, it took me 10, 15, 20 years. See, at least 15 years before I said anything to anybody. And it was very cathartic. I just started bawling, but it felt good. It felt really good. I was sitting there with somebody that I trusted, and at that point I felt I could trust even more. And the person was not a therapist. It was just, I guess it was just time for me to start dealing with it, and that person was thankfully there. It was somebody in college. It was somebody that worked at the college, and again, not a psychotherapist of any sort. But thankfully, she sat there and listened to me. And so. But yeah, I saw it happening. It's really weird because there are other times where there was abuse, and even not just sexual abuse. There was sitting in the mess hall, the dining hall in the dorm. The staff would have us sit in there. They were lazy pieces of shit. Excuse my language, but they were just bums, punks. And they would come in there and start yelling at us and hollering. We're supposed to have activities. I think, I don't remember what time we did what, but it's a long time ago now. And I remember seeing everything, but I was seeing it, but I wasn't sitting on the floor watching from my perspective, but rather it's like I'm standing somewhere else and I can see everybody, including myself, and I see the staff, they'd come in every once in a while, start yelling and cussing and threatening us. And there was a time where they were physically abusive. And again, I'm standing there looking down at myself and the other kids and the staff. Really weird. But if that's what you have to do to survive, then that's what you have to do. And so to my family, to my friends, to my acquaintances, if you want to try and understand who I am in life, where I come from, why I believe the things I believe in, why I support and oppose the things I support and oppose, etc. Look at my life. It's a life that hopefully most of you have never, hopefully none of you have ever had to live through. But I know some of you have. And I'm very sorry for that. I wish I could change it for you. If you're going through it, if you're going through it right now, I want to say trust somebody and go to that person and say something. Say you need help. If you have to, go to a shelter and say, I need help. I can't stay in my environment. I need help. If you can get hold of a landline or a cell phone, call 911. If you're like those three girls in Ohio, if you can find a way to get to a phone, do it. Okay? Please. Although I will admit that the 911 operator in Ohio, she did not deal with it properly. Not even close. You know, if I would have been that girl that was making that call, I would have been scared shitless that it wasn't going to end, that it was just going to keep going. You know, so, and again, excuse my language, but, you know, so, anyway, just want to talk about that. And everybody else, have a good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Have a fantastic day.